David S. Pumpkin season. Dizzy. Any questions? No. Okay. Probably like, yeah, lots. What are you doing? 7. No, we did 9. That is 9. Any questions on this before we continue to what? 21? Did y'all get through 21? On the next page.
I had just gotten to it, but I haven't done it yet.
Okay. You want to do it with me? F of x equals a, and we're doing x minus h squared plus k. So I believe this is the formula that we're bringing down from the previous page. If we look at 21, I think the first thing I want to get out is my vertex. So what is my vertex in this thing? Brian, you want to do this one?
-1.
I'm all confused on this one.
All right.
Is the vertex -1, 0?
That's
Yes.
exactly what it is, right? My x coordinate is -1. My y coordinate right there is 0. Talking about that point right there. So give me the coordinates of that point. That's going to give me my h comma k. If you have an h and a k, can you plug it into this thing up here? That's the next question. What does this look like? F of x equals a x
+1 squared.
plus 1. Where'd you get +1?
Because it's a -1 and it tells
Okay.
you to subtract.
There's 2 negatives, right? There's a negative in the formula and there's a negative on this one. So there's 2 negatives that people are putting together to make this plus. And plus, I don't have much room here. What's my k?
+0.
Plus 0. So you're probably not going to write that after this step, right? It's just plus 0.
No, you can't.
You can drop that if you want. What about my A? I have everything filled out except for my goal is basically to get everything filled out except for my x and my f of x, right? And so I still have this guy A in here. How do I figure that out from a graph?
Yeah, +1.
A equals 1. Why are you saying that? Because if I look at this graph and I want it to follow like a square function, right? If I go out 1, how far up should it go? I take 1 and I square it, I'm going to get what?
1.
1. So if I go out 2,
Get 4.
it's going to go by 2 squared, which is 4. And so this, does it follow a regular square pattern?
Yes.
Yes. If we go out 3, it should go up 9, right?
Mm.
So that makes A basically 1, right?
Yes.
If we're going to multiply by 1, are we going to see it? Probably not, right? So I think all in all, what I'm getting is like f of x. I'm just missing my equal sign in here. Cramming it. But here it is, x plus 1 squared when I clean it up, right?
Yeah.
And looking at this graph transformations, we did this yesterday, but this is just a square function moved left 1, right? That's all we did. We took that square function, we moved it left 1. It still maintained its same shape. We didn't stretch it or shrink it at all. Okay. Same thing. Let's do 23 right quick. And then I'll give y'all more time on those other ones. A x minus h squared plus k Okay. So what are my H and K on 23?
0, 0.
0, 0 is the point.
Zero.
0, 0 is my vertex.
Mhm.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so if I fill that in, was it like? Maybe I got like an x minus 0 squared plus 0. If I clean this up, x minus 0 is what?
Minus 0.
X minus 0 is
0.
I have it. Yeah, I
X
have x. I
squared.
don't take anything away from it. It's gonna remain x. And then I square it. Maybe I'm doing a few steps.
Yeah, x squared. It's like x squared.
Basically, there's gonna be an x squared there, right? When I finish with that, x minus 0 is gonna give me x. I take that x and I square it. It's basically
I see.
the only thing when I have a 0, 0 vertex, right? Is I'm gonna be left with an x squared. I still have that a there I have to figure out. And so now this one is a little bit maybe more complicated.
To find your a.
When
Yeah.
I go 1 over, it looks like it's going 2 spaces up. And referring back to this thing, when I go 1 spot over, I'm expecting 1 up. So if you had to put a factor in front of this thing, what number do you think that would be?
2.
2? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
We're multiplying this by a factor. So 1 times what is going to get me to 2? It's got to be 2. We're stretching it by a factor of 2 is what it looks like. So if I go,
Excuse me, I find my 2 just by plugging it in the equation.
by putting points in there,
Yes, directly in the equation. I
that,
find.
yeah, that will also work. So
Yes.
2 and 4, if I go up 2, it's going to go up 8 now, I think, is why it's way off the graph.
Yes.
So each of those y things get multiplied by a factor of 2. Questions about this one? I feel like plugging in the zeros, plugging in the vertex is probably not the thing that trips people up in that one. It's probably going to be that factor on the outside. All right. Did anyone get through 51? I'm seeing like, no. All right, I'll give y'all more time on what, 51 and 53. So 51 and 53, where you're basically finding the vertex and then you're finding intervals of increase and decrease. And 61 and 67 are the next one I want to go over. If you know, like, I know we're doing a lot of stuff, right? But if you just know like the sort of basic shape of like, hey, this is my positive parabola, right? This is my negative parabola. It looks down, it looks up. If you know the basic shape of your parabola and you know how to find your vertex, you can get quite a lot of these problems correct. You might have to do a little bit of interpreting, but these problems are really based on those sorts of concepts of being able to find that vertex. So let's do 51, 53 and 61, 67. I'll give y'all some time to work on those. I type them in the chat. 51, 53, 61, and 67. Ooh, that's not who I meant to send it to. Everyone. All right,
What is-
questions before we go to groups?
Real quick, what does it mean when like, so if f is increasing, what does that mean? Like, what does that look like? Like it's getting bigger or what?
If f is increasing, it means it's going up. So f increasing is your y is increasing, or your f of x. And so that would be when your function increases or when it goes up going left to right. F decreasing would mean when it goes down going left to right. So you're reading me x quantities, hopefully. And we did this on number 9. That one might help you
Okay, thank you.
when we did the increase and decrease there, if you reference that. All right. Any more questions before we get to groups? I'm gonna open rooms. You need to go to room. Let's go to room 2. And pause the recording. Should be just regular parentheses. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Because
Sorry, I was not paying attention. I was like trying to do domain and range or something, I think, for a second.
it's okay.
Increase and decrease, we don't include the endpoints typically. If I'm being honest, I don't think I'm too particular about that when I grade. It's like, okay.
In this case, teacher is increasing in 1 plus infinity, right?
It's 1 to positive infinity is where it increases. And if that's where it increases, I feel like this one almost writes itself. Hopefully. Where does it decrease? How far left does this other part go? Over here, right? Is what I'm looking at now.
Minus infinity.
Yeah, it goes left minus infinity, goes up to
1.
that 1 right there. And this is like generally the way that like parabolas are going to look, right? We're going to go from minus infinity up to my x quantity on my vertex. And I'm going to go from my x quantity to my vertex up to infinity. If it's written right side up, it's going to be this way. If it's written as a negative parabola, we're going to flip those two intervals basically, right?
Teacher, excuse me, are you using your you using the original what I mean, the original graph, right? It's not what you just right now draw on your screen.
I'm confused what you mean by the original graph because we're doing 2x squared minus 4x plus 1.
No, it's okay. I'm back. Thank you. Sorry.
And so I plotted it out real quick. I didn't even like plot it like it, I don't know, very well, right? I don't know how to explain it, but like basically all I did was like, I plotted my vertex, the 1 minus 1, and I just drew my graph kind of accordingly. Is it a positive or negative parabola, right?
It's a positive, yeah. It's okay.
So
Everything
draw
is clear.
right side up. Okay, so that's that one. This one is what, 51. The next one was 53.
Yep.
53 says, let's look. F of x equals 1/2 x squared plus 10. Ooh, I like this one. And so we talked a little bit about it, but h is what, minus b over 2a, my x coordinate. What do I have? Who's next? Carson, did you get this one?
So for B, you put 0.
So we're looking here, we're like, here's A, and maybe people get confused, but this is my C term because that's my constant. So if I don't see it, if you want to write it there, you can put in basically a 0x, right? Is what that would be. I don't see it there. It's got a coefficient of 0. And if that's the case, my B is 0. So I have basically 0. A negative 0 is still just a 0. Over 2 times what?
1/2.
Half. And is that something or is that undefined? That's what I want to know, right? Is that a 0 or is that undefined?
I got 0.
That is definitely 0.
Okay.
We can have no pizza and we can divide it by 1 person. They're going to get no pizza. It's when you have like 0 on the bottom that's going to be a problem.
Okay.
All right.
And so you plug in the 0 for all the x's in the equation.
Okay, so for k, I'm plugging in 0. So this looks like what, 1/2 of what, 0 squared plus 10?
Mhm.
Zeros
that
make
just
everything. Yeah, zeros make everything easier to solve, right? It's like there's nothing there. I think we're just adding 10 to nothing. Should be 10. So it looks like my vertex is 0, 10. Okay. So if I know my vertex is 0, 10, I know I have some sort of graph, and I want to think like roughly what does this thing look like? 0, 10 is some point up in here, something like that. And does this graph go happy face or frowny face?
Happy.
face.
It is happy face graph. And if we know that,
Excuse me, teacher. Happy fat face.
yeah, it is. It's pretty wide, huh? It's like it's got that shrinking.
Yeah.
If we're going to do the increase, is that the left side or right side of that thing?
The right?
It's got to be this right side where it's going up. And if I want to talk about that right side, what are the x values I'm talking about there?
Sure.
I'm starting where?
10?
Ooh, the x values.
No.
The x value is what? The y.
0. 0.
0.
0, 2. How far does that go?
Infinity.
Yep. And on the other side, can you write this out without me telling you? It's the flip of that, right?
Mm.
So instead of,
Infinity.
yes, start at minus infinity, and we go up to
0.
that 0 there. Yep, that's it. Oh, man.
Teacher, excuse me, we can find them directly on the point of the vertex point. We don't need to draw them in the graph, right?
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah. If you can
I
figure it
just
out,
find them because excuse me, because I have my x values and then I just noticed.
yeah,
it.
yeah. If you can figure it out without drawing the graph, then go for it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just drawing the graph to make sure we all kind of have the same picture in our head, hopefully, what this thing looks like. Because, like I said, if I'm not drawing this out physically, I'm probably drawing this out in my head. What does this thing look like, right? Was that 151, 53? Did y'all get to 61?
Are we not doing 57? Because that one is also circled on the worksheet.
Y'all should do it. I know I'm skipping through some problems. I'm trying to get a little bit of each flavor in here. So we go through at least like one example of some each. That one should be like kind of the same as what we just did.
Yes.
I'm hoping if we do 2 examples, I can do that one. And if not, we got office hours too. So y'all should do 57 for homework. But I want to skip to 61. Did y'all get 61? Should I give y'all a little more time? What's the deal?
Yes. The 61 teacher is a little bit.
Well, I know you probably got it, but did anybody else get 61?
No, I didn't quite get to that one before we got pulled back.
I didn't-
That's fine. I'll give you more time to get through it a little bit. 61 and 67. If I want to talk about a minimum, and this is like a positive parabola shape, what is the minimum of this? What are they really asking for if they ask for minimum? Just like my positive parabola shape. Or if they give me a negative parabola shape, right? they're gonna ask me for what maximum, I think, is the next one.
Yes, because the 61 is the minimum and the 67 it's the maximum.
So how do I find the min and max of a quadratic? What do I have to find?
It's the formula, teacher, there. We need to have first the formula to find the minimum.
The
Vertex.
formula. Yeah, the vertex, right? So they're basically asking you in a different way to find me the vertex. So this is kind of in line with the stuff we're doing. We want to find the vertex of this thing. We want to find the minimum y value. That would be the y value of the vertex here, right? We want to
Yes.
find the maximum y value. That would be the y value of that vertex there. So when we get to finding minimums and maximums, we can find minimums and maximums of things. Okay, so I want to do, what are we on, 61, 67? I want y'all to do 61, 67. And then I think I'm going to look at,
Are you able to turn on the share screen and whiteboard stuff?
ooh, let me make sure that setting's on.
Because it wasn't on.
Okay. All right, it should be on. Any questions before we go to groups? So 61, 67. How much time I got? 61, 67. I want to do 75 and 85, but that's graphing stuff. And I feel like we've done some graphing yesterday, the day before. So I think I want to maybe skip ahead to 109 after that. So looking at 109 through 112. I think those are the three I wanted to look at when we come back. So I'm going to open the rooms. Question. Ooh, I didn't hit that button yet. Okay. What was their question? Find the minimum y value of what? Y equals f of x. And so I believe I plugged in 2/3. My h was 2/3. My k was 2/3. Is that right? This is my k.
Yes, your vertex is 2/3, 2/3.
So my vertex is 2/3, 2/3. What is the minimum y value? And I guess this is probably a bad question because they're both 2/3. But which 2/3 am I picking?
Third.
I'm picking the k equals 2/3, right? I'm picking that
Yes.
y value. That should be my minimum y value. And why is that my minimum y value? Because I'm looking at a parabola and the vertex is the low point, basically, right? It's the point where it turns from bottom to top, from down to up.
Teacher, I have a question for you, please.
Mhm.
When they asking every time, when they asking for the minimum value or maximum value, we need to pick the k, right?
Usually, yeah, when we ask for the minimum or maximum value, we're asking for the y or the k value. We're talking about
Okay.
values of the function. We're talking about the y values of the function typically.
In this case, y and k is the same.
Yeah, so my x is my h, right? And my y is my k.
Okay.
The h and the k refer I can't speak anymore. The h and k refer specifically to the vertex, the x and y coordinates of the vertex. But they are x and y values. Okay. And then we have one more that is sort of like this. Find the maximum y value of the graph y equals f of x. 67 says 5x minus x squared. If you look at it like this, and you try to do like solve for h from this thing, you might hurt yourself a little bit. I wouldn't do that. Who's next on my list? I think I called you. Leslie, I think is next.
I didn't do that one. I didn't get a chance to do that one.
So what order should I write this in? Do you see what you should do?
I'm not sure. Like, I'm still trying to like kind of understand all of this.
Okay. Do you notice that this one's written maybe differently from the rest?
Yes.
How might you want to rewrite this? What am I going to put first?
Move the x2 in front, or
This thing is what we're talking about.
what do you mean? Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really confused on all this right now.
Okay, so we look at like something like standard form. We're looking at something that leads with that x squared term, and then it's got the x, and it's got the constant. It's going to start with like the largest exponent there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to go down until there's no more x's.
So would you add a 0? Since there's no.
Yeah, we were going to have to add a 0, right? So looking at ax squared, the first thing I need to put is my what term?
The x2.
Yeah, the x squared, that's it. And we have what?
0.
Plus 5x, right?
Oh,
Would be the
5.
next thing. And then we do what? Plus.
Plus 0.
All right, so that gives me my a, b, and my c, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know from my formula, my h is a minus b over 2a.
Yes.
That's coming from that formula. And this is my a, my b, and my c. And so my b is what number?
5.
Yeah, so minus b is going to be minus 5. 2a is going to be 2 times.
And then just 1.
What kind of 1 is up in there?
Oh, -1.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's negative. So when I do this, I think I'm going to end up getting a -5 over a -2, or just 5 over 2, right?
Yes.
All right.
And then you just
So you're
plug it
halfway
back
there
in.
already.
Yeah.
All right, so we have this is my x quantity, is the 5/2.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to know, well, I do need to know the x quantity, but what I really want to know is that y quantity that goes with this. And so I have this 5/2. What am I doing with this 5/2 to figure out what the y quantity is on this thing?
You plug it back in.
Putting those two things together, right? Hopefully. And I want to plug that 5/2 I just found back into my formula to find out what the correlating y value or my k value is, right? Is this thing with the 5/2 plugged in. So this, and I plug in my 5/2. And so now everybody's favorite fractions, but here we go. These aren't too bad, I don't think. This is like 5 over 1 times 5 over 2. I think that's giving me 25/2. And then we're doing minus 5/2 times 5/2. Or you could do 5 squared over 2 squared, right? There's another way. We did exponent rules. So that's what, 25 over what number?
4.
It should be 4, 2 times 2.
Yeah.
So how do we want to do this?
You could make the denominators the same and
Sorry.
then subtract.
So how would it make the denominators the same?
Multiply 25/2 by 2, so it'll be 50/4, and then you just subtract from there.
Yeah, that's it. So then we're going to have what, 50/4 minus 25/4, I think is what we end up with. Make sure I got my pen, not the eraser. 50/4, right? Minus what, 25/4? And I think that's just what, 50 minus 25 over 4, which is
25 over 4.
25 over 4. And so they're asking, what is the maximum y value? So we know, let me write them both out. We figured this thing out. We figure it out
It's a negative teacher, right? Negative 25. No,
Should be positive, I think.
yeah, 25 over 2, right? Yeah.
If you have a calculator, these things are really easy to plug in.
It's the biggest problem I have with this sign.
H was 5/2, right? Is what we figured out. And K is the 25 over 4. And so if they're asking for, I believe, the maximum value here, what is my maximum Y value?
Okay.
Okay.
It is that K value. You better give me that value, right? Okay, where are we at? Like 10 more minutes. Let me just share the screen. I think it would be the quickest way. Share my screen. This one. So they give us a few scenarios on this one. And we're looking here. I hope you're looking at the right screen. Y'all can see the homework, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
All right, so 109 says the height Y of a stone thrown from the ground level after X seconds. There are two things that are starting from the ground. Which two are starting from the ground over here?
Excuse me, teacher, which number, please?
C and D.
I'm doing 109, 110, 111, and 112. I'm looking at those.
Yeah, D for sure.
D starts at the ground, it starts at 0, right? C, I think is what you said. Did I hear that? This is also starting from the ground. These, right, they start up here. They're starting from a certain height. So already we're narrowing it down between C and D. If I want to talk about throwing a stone from the ground level, is it going to be C or D? Talking about the height of a stone.
D.
D.
It's going to go up, and then guess what's going to happen? It's going to come back down,
Come
hopefully.
down.
Hopefully we still got gravity, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to reach its peak, and it's going to come back down. So just think about throwing a stone. It's going to make that arch, right? It's going to go up. It's going to come down. This tells me I throw something, and it keeps going up. That's what this looks like. That is not happening. We have this thing called gravity that's going to bring it back down. So this one should be 109, I believe.
Yes, 109 is D.
110, the number of people attending a popular movie X weeks after its opening.
B.
B, I believe, is correct for that one. So we're going to start out with the number, and most people that want to see it or are anxious to see it, right, are going to start seeing it, and then we're going to see a diminished return sort of thing happening. There's going to be a diminishing sort of population coming to see this movie. Less and less people are probably going to come see it. Temperature X hours in a house where the furnace quits and then it gets repaired. So if the furnace quits, the temperature is going to drop. We're going to repair the furnace. Hopefully your temperature gets warmer, right? So which one would that be?
A.
That would be A. That's right. And then 112 is the cumulative number of reported AIDS cases in years X, where it's between 82 and 94. So basically during the AIDS epidemic is the last one, right?
C, yeah.
112 is C, teacher, right?
112 is C, that's it. Yep.
Okay.
Was that 109? 119 was the other one I really wanted to talk about.
119.
It is putting it together. Like if you got those things where we're doing the min, oh, excuse me, the min and max earlier, I think this will probably make sense if you also like think about what you were doing back when we were doing word problems. So you have to keep track of your X variable and your Y variable. I'll get that out of here so I can scroll. Okay. So let's read 119. My options. There it is. maximizing the revenue. So suppose that the revenue is in R, is in thousands of dollars, and the company receives that from producing X is the thousands of DVD players. So evaluate R of 2 and interpret the results. So this is something like we've done already. So I don't want to spend too much time on this first one, maybe. R of 2 is going to look like what? What does that equation look like?
You said 119, teacher, right?
Yeah, 119 part A. So if I evaluate R of 2, what is that telling me?
You want to upload your 2 in the function.
Yeah, we want to put it in the function. So if I put 2 in that function, first thing
Because
I see
you
there
don't
is
have
an
it
X.
in mind.
I should put a 2 instead of an X, right? And I do 40 minus what? 2 times X?
Yeah. Just you upload your 2 because they don't have it in
Should be
you
2.
can see it.
So it should be 40 minus what? 2 times 2 in the parentheses?
Mm,
And this is what? 2 times 40 minus 4 if I evaluate that. So y'all should, this should be a review, I'm hoping. Hoping maybe y'all are just being a little reserved and know how to do this. If not, ooh, hopefully we can subtract. 40 minus 4 is 36. 2 times 36 is what?
189. No.
2 times 36?
No, 2 times 36 is 1.
Should be 72. Right?
126.
Should be 72. Okay. So I evaluated it. I did half the thing that was there that they told me to do. What's the other half? If I want to interpret this, what does this mean? When I plug in 2, I get 72.
$72.
Revenue from what?
I don't have the problem in front of me. Sorry, I need to find it.
You don't have 119?
Yes, now I find it because it's confused. Okay, now I find it. Sorry.
Okay. The revenue from what? What did we sell?
DVD players.
Yeah. How many DVD players?
And it would be in the thousands, right?
Yeah. And how many of them did we sell to get 72?
72 DVD.
How many DVD players did we sell? How many?
No,
How many thousands?
2,000.
2,000. It's the number we plugged in. Right? You got to tell me your X, you got to tell me your Y quantity when you interpret this thing. The revenue from 2,000 DVD players. Oh man, where are we at?
Wait, so where is the R coming from? The revenue?
Ooh, we haven't put that in yet. So the revenue from 2,000 DVD players will be what?
72.
$72.
It's not dollars. No.
It should be thousands, I think, right? Is what they said?
Yeah,
$1,000.
72,000 because it's time thousands. Yeah.
Or maybe you want to say like, if you said $72,000, that's us. Okay. Either way, right?
Yeah.
I can't put my parentheses in the right place, apparently. These are things you like. This should be a review, man. So I'm kind of worried that like I'm getting a lot of silence on something that should technically be a review because this is
We
gonna
have the same
this is gonna
question
come
for
up
our
again.
test. It's like the same question for test 4.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope y'all are being awfully quiet. I hope that's like boredom or something and not like not understanding this, because we look at the X, we look at the Y. You tell me what the X represents, you tell me what the Y represents, right? So the revenue from 2,000 DVD players will be $72,000 is what this R of 2 tells me. When I find R of 2 equals 72. So this is something that you should be able to do by this point.
There's a lot of people with cameras off. So I think, like you said, there's a silence. There's a lot of people checked out.
Mhm. We're gonna have another test in another week. And it's gonna be on it. And I don't know what to tell y'all, man. Trying to help y'all out, but I can only help you if you help yourself. How many DVD players should the company produce to maximize its profit? Its revenue, sorry. Said the wrong word. This is the key word. How do we max it?
The highest number.
So I'm thinking, and I haven't done it yet, that it's probably going to look like that, and I'm going to have a maximum number on my vertex, right? Just like we did in the previous problem.
Yes, your maximum number here is 72,000.
Do we know that that's the vertex yet?
You're at
No.
time, just so you know.
I'm at time.
Yeah.
I'll finish this one up right quick. But to maximize it, right, we do have to do a little bit of cleaning up with this thing, maybe. So we would have to like distribute things right quick, right? So maybe like 40x minus 2x squared.
Something equals to 72,000. Yeah.
And so probably rewrite that so that it is what, minus 2x squared is the leading term. I can't write correctly on this thing. Okay, 2x squared plus 40x plus 40x plus 0. And so we want to figure out x is what, minus b over 2a.
Yes. Could you minus 40 over
2 times a what, minus 2.
yes.
So we do need to do some distribution, and we need to rewrite this thing in standard form before we start doing the vertex formula, right? And then we plug it into the vertex formula. So this is minus 40 over minus 4. I believe x is going to be 10. And so we take 10 and we plug it back into this thing.
Okay.
And so my R of x or my R of 10 is what I want to figure out next to figure out my k. And so it looks like what, 10 times 40 minus 2 times 10. And I'm going to crunch these numbers right quick. 2 times 10 is 20. 40 minus that's 20. I think this is going to give me 200 if I'm doing this correctly. I know I'm doing it real quick. And so what's my maximum revenue?
200.
200, yeah. So my maximum revenue is $200,000. And how many DVD players do I need to sell to get to that? That's another question they could ask you. I got to sell 10,000.
10,000.
So they can ask you 2 different questions, basically, right? How many DVD players? How much money am I going to make? Those are basically the 2 different questions they can ask when you turn it into a word problem. Yeah, that's it. B and C, right? And I should say thousands when I say this. I didn't say thousands, but 10,000 DVD players gives me $200,000 in profit. That's it. And like we said, we're already at the end of class. So if you got questions, do you have office hours today?
For like 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks so much, teachers.
Welcome. Brian, I sent you a message earlier. I don't know if you saw it.
Thank you.
Thank you and have a wonderful day to you.
Bye,
And
have a
have
good
a
weekend.
Have a good weekend.
It's a
Yep, I
squeaky-
just saw it.
Okay.
I was actually talking about that earlier today. I'm like, I wonder when that will get done. Thank you so much. Have a great